Hi, I'm Chad, and I'm demonstrating my activity for Wednesday, which is martial arts. And once again, the primary idea is movement, having some fun. Release is a huge one on this for me. Martial arts, boxing, things like this, and nature have a huge effect of release of stress, pent up emotions. And it just seems that Wednesdays are the day that corresponds to this. Maybe it has something to do with Wednesday being hump day, is the concept. And it just, that's the way it evolved with me. Um, but once again, all of these activities are based on certain days, but if they don't happen on those days, then I move it to another day, potentially double up on a day. But today it actually falls exactly on Wednesday that I'm doing the martial arts. Um, and I'll do a lot of free movements, just what I feel like doing, and that's what I encourage you to do. If you don't have particularly any martial arts training or experience, it's not necessary. Just go with what you feel, and I encourage you get something you can punch that doesn't hurt your hand too much or at all, and and I think you'll like it because it really, like I say, is a great release and a great exercise. Again, all of these activities that I do, each one does something different for my body and my spirit, my mind, than any of the other activities. And martial arts is definitely one of those. Um, Now, I have studied different forms of martial art to a degree. I'm not a black belt in anything, um, but I have studied some taekwondo, some judo, and some Brazilian jiu jitsu, and then another type of martial art called close combat. Um, Now, if I were going to choose a martial art to particularly study or recommend of all of them, I would choose Gracie Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. For one, I believe it's the most effective martial art out there as far as actually being effective if you are attacked or in some type of confrontation for self defense. Um, Two, it's the least violent. Generally speaking, you can subdue a person with it and not even hardly hurt them or hurt them at all. It's amazing, actually, I think. And it's the most effective, in my opinion, or one of the most effective for a small person versus someone larger. I think this was demonstrated very effectively in the very first UFCs where the Gracies put it on. If you ever get a chance to Google those original ones or go to their site, you can even buy the DVD that has all the first three seasons, and you can really see how it evolved and how effective it was against all other forms of martial arts. Um, it evolved into something else, which is the reason why I think the Gracies got out of it and sold it. And so I have a different opinion on what the UFC is today. Um, but those original ones, I believe, really demonstrated the effectiveness of it. Gracie Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and it's the reason why um, the military uses it today with the special forces and even the Marines train with it. A lot of, if not all, of police forces today have some of it trained in their repertoire as well. And also, even probably most importantly, is it's a way to do martial arts with someone else and not have the high risk of getting hurt. Like if you're boxing or practicing a punching style of martial art, the chances of you getting hurt while actually doing it are higher. It requires more skill and caution and placement of punches and things. Whereas with Gracie Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, it's more like wrestling. So the chances of getting hurt are far less. Now, with any martial art, even Gracie Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, I recommend caution and preferably start it with an instructor who can help you along with it and teach the right way and make it safer. It's not what I chose to do. I chose to learn by videos and such. I have done some workouts with others, but primarily with the Gracie Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, I studied on myself. Same with the close combat, although with Taekwondo, I did take classes. Um, anyway, but again, you don't have to have any martial arts training or experience, in my opinion, to do this. It's more about energy, spirit, and just going with what your body feels like doing, um, which actually be argued is a very effective form of even self-defense if the moment ever arises. Um, but getting it out and punching, rolling, pretending like you're wrestling, because obviously I'm not gonna have a partner today, and over the years I really haven't had much opportunity for that, given the time structure of my life, work, relationships, things like this. I just haven't had the time to really get involved in a martial arts class. But that may happen in the future, or I may conduct one at Starheart for people to come and at least one day a week work out in it. But that remains to be seen. So anyway, I do this once a week by myself, and I'm here at one of my favorite spots for doing it. There's a lot of trees around that I can use as targets and things. The ground is soft, it's sandy. Now also I'll sometimes do this in my warehouse space where there's soft pads on the ground or punching mats that I can use. So any space that offers these types of opportunities is good. I've got sort of a little punching pillow with me today that I'll be using, and you'll watch me do this. It probably won't take more than 10 or 15 minutes to get through the routine, and sometimes I'll go longer, sometimes I'll go less, but man, the amount of wind that it creates, the amount of sweat and exercise that it creates, body movement in just a very short time is, in my opinion, quite incredible. The ability for it to get my pulse rate up really quick, and I feel that activities like boxing, especially where you're punching that bag, I think you'll be surprised how quickly it gets your wind up and how quickly it gets your pulse up, and how you can feel like you've gotten a workout in a very short amount of time for even 10 or 15 minutes. I think it's an incredible workout just in that amount of time. So give it a try and see what you think. I'm going to give a demonstration here. It might seem kind of funny what I do, and so I'll be flipping around doing stuff that looks kind of funny, but I love it. And of course there's people out there that are much more skilled than me in this, and you might learn more about movements from them, but there's probably plenty of people who are less. So what matters is, though, it's you go at your own pace. Once again, with any of these activities that I'm encouraging people to do, if you can just even move your arm, if that's all you can do, say you're getting over an illness or something like this, or some physical disability, and that's all you can do is move your arm or your leg with the thought in mind of some of these movements, that's enough. That's a start, and in my opinion, that builds your mental state, your ideas, your visions of it, all contribute. And I think you'll be amazed how your body changes over time if you just even walk through these movements. If I do a flip on the ground, well, maybe you can't do that, but just to even act like you're flipping, get on the ground, just roll a bit, act like you're doing it. And I'll bet you'll be very surprised at what happens over the course of 6 months of just doing that once a week. And then doing these activities, any of them, once a week, as little as you can do it, or as much as you can do it, not forcing, not hurting, even if it's just simple, slow movements of it. I'll bet you'll be surprised what happens in 6 months. That's my bet. So anyway, without further ado, I'll demonstrate some of my activities here. Okay, well, I've got some work gloves on that'll help protect my hands if I'm smacking a tree or something like this, as you'll see. You can get boxing gloves if you want. You can get bagged mitts in this situation, probably even help your hands out better. I've got my old clothes on, and I'm not afraid of getting dirty. Same with my shoes. And yeah, ready to go. Okay. So I'll probably move it in and out of the view of the camera, but the basic idea starting out is just to move around, do punching movements side to side movements. Sometimes you'll even see me punch in my face just a little bit, and not enough, to really hurt. But there's something about that taking a punch, like in martial arts, it's one thing to know the moves to punch or to defend yourself. It's another thing to be comfortable with taking a punch in self-defense. That's half of it, in my opinion. But I just think it's fun. I know it sounds a little crazy, but it's fun to punch myself a little bit, and it's a release. I had a martial arts instructor one time tell me, and he was a pretty advanced guy, had done a lot of open UFC type of fighting himself, and he said when you take a hit, like when you're in a boxing match or some type of martial, you take a hit, that it actually alkalizes your body. A lot of the acid in your body turns to alkaline, which, as we know, is a very good thing. Now, I don't know if this is provable scientifically or if it's the truth, but it's what he said. But what I can say is it's a stress reliever. Just like punching something, taking a punch can be a stress release too, to be quite honest. There's some people who practice pain tolerance. You may have heard of these people. They'll put needles in themselves. Sometimes they even cut themselves. I knew a guy in college that would do this to relieve stress. He would cut himself. And, well, that can get dangerous because now you're bleeding. Now you can get infection. But I understood why he did this, and I understood why some people do this with needles and stuff, because the idea of inflicting some amount of pain can be a big stress release. This is why people do it. And it's the same way with martial arts. You're working out, you're taking some pain sometimes, and it's a big stress release. At least for me, it is, and I know other people who feel the same way. So that's kind of what you'll see me doing. You'll see me punching myself, even slamming myself up against trees. Now, I've built up to this over the years, so my body can probably take it better than somebody who just starts out. And that's the thing, too, you'll notice. That your body will adapt over time if you give it time. If you start out too much too quick, it's going to be too painful. But it's like Jeep tour guiding. When I first started being a Jeep tour guide, man, my body was so sore. I didn't think I was going to be able to keep doing it because the Jeeps beat up my body so much on these rough trails. But the older, more experienced guys said, that's what your body does when you first get in the Jeep, but give it 2 weeks and see what happens. And sure enough, after 2 weeks of doing the Jeep tours, my body adapted. I didn't have any pain with it anymore. So the body can do this. It adapts over time if you give it time to do it. And don't do too much at first and just gradually build. So will your tolerance for being able to do things longer and even take pain. And it can be, like I say, fun and even sort of uplifting in a spiritual way, because it kind of, in my opinion, encourages us to kind of get outside of our body a bit. And the pain kind of can be liberating as far as, wow, okay, I'm not part of my body. This is what I believe anyway. Anyway, I'll stop talking so much, get into the activity. I can talk all I want, but all in all, it's fun. I am compelled to do this. I talk philosophy on doing these activities, but honestly, anymore, I cannot not do them. I crave them. Even if I say, okay, I'm done, I don't want to exercise anymore, I want to gain some weight, I just don't want to do this stuff anymore, I cannot not do it. It's like a drug addict talks about as far as needing drugs. It's like my body goes into a mode of craving it. Probably even chemical reactions occurring if I don't get it, just like a drug addict describes. And in my opinion, the only difference between a healthy habit and an addiction is, one's considered a healthy habit. One's considered healthy for you. You talk to runners, you talk to people who play basketball or some sport, and it's like if they don't get it, they start getting depressed. They start having withdrawal symptoms, and they just want it so much because they've conditioned their body over the years to form around that activity. So if the body doesn't get it, it starts showing the signs and wanting it so much. And that's the way these activities are with me. Today I was even thinking about not doing it, but man, I just was wanting it so much. And that's what it really is when it comes down to it. It's just tremendously fun for me. this is what you're going to see is tremendously fun for me. And eventually I'd like to be doing it with other people. But right now, this is what I have, and I tremendously appreciate it. So, okay, here we go. Get a drink of water here, and then start. Just moving around. Punching myself a little bit in the face. Wakes me up a bit, you know. Here's a tree. I'm just gonna lightly go up against the tree. The shot feels good. I'll change between closed fist types of punches, open, like in close combat, open palm. Karate chop, that's part of close combat. So these are various moves. You can do kicks, you know, roundhouse types, like this. Again, you don't have to know or be trained, just watch and do. Pick up moves from watching videos and just do them or invent your own. Whatever your body feels like doing. I'm in a sandy area, so it's nice and soft. So I can roll on the ground if I want. Come back up. Building momentum. I can feel my breath, my pulse coming up now. Do a little punch down the tree, boom, 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 with my open palm. Slam again, boom, boom, on my stomach, back, lunging. Then I've got this tall long pillow I found at the Goodwill store. Use it as a punching bag. Now in my Starheart place, I've got a wall to put up against so it's more effective. But I'll make do out here. Okay, kind of moving on that tree. I'm gonna wedge it over here between these two trees. I'll move the camera a little bit because I think watching the punching bag routine is fun, and it's fun to watch. And this really gets the blood pumping and release. Lots of release in this when you can have something to punch like this. Still not working too well because it's not balancing too well against this tree, but you get the idea. But to have a corner of a wall to put it in, it really works well. That's what I do at Starheart. I'll move over to this bigger tree. Don't know if you'll ever see it, but that's what I'm going to do. And then to even put it sort of bounce as it's falling towards me, hit punch if I got act like I'm doing a jiu-jitsu move, throwing on the ground, getting on top, or doing some type of arm bar, whatever, or just rolling around and wrestling. Even if you're not trying to act like it's self-defense, having fun wrestling like kids do, you know. Tremendously fun, great exercise, great release. So I'll put this over to the side. As you can see, my pulse is really up, my breath is up, just in a very short amount of time. Okay. So that's a good demonstration so far. I'm going to pause it until I get towards the end of my routine. Generally speaking, I get out of breath like this And it's allowed to let my pulse come down again, and then I'll go through another set, and same thing happens. Maybe get a little more active in that next set, and then usually it's about 3 sets. I do about 3 sets of this, and then I'm done. So I'm gonna pause it, probably pick it up on my 3rd set. Okay. I just got done with my 2nd sort of set, moving into my 3rd one. So I'll record this last one. And yeah, I've kind of built up a little more, so more comfortable with doing flips and things on the ground, which you'll probably see. I think the camera will be angled right to see that, but you get the concept if not. Anyway, 3rd set, and then I'm done. But again, yeah, encourage going at your own pace, however many sets or whatever you want to do. Okay. Oh, the burp's coming up. I find this happens a lot when I exercise, and it moves the air out of my stomach, which is good. Helps with digestion, moves things through my system. And I've heard others talk about this too, where movement and exercise really helps their digestion. So another great bonus, right, to doing something fun. Anyway. Sandy here. One final thing I always like to do. Took me a while to build up this one. See if I can do it today. Some days I can do it. Sometimes I can't. Most times I can these days. Anyway, it's the back to feet move, right? Martial arts move, dance move, whatever. Took me a long time to get back up to that one. After my body was down and the sickness that I was in. So real happy about that. Real appreciative. Okay, that's about it. Signing off. Might do a little warm down, but you don't need to see that. But man, my pulse is up, my breath is up. I feel like I've released a lot. I feel more centered, peaceful actually. Martial artists talk about this, boxers, whatever, that done in the right way with the right attitude, it can bring you to actually a great state of peace. Might be counterintuitive to think that something that can be considered like a violent activity can bring about peace, but it, in my opinion, does. Tremendous amounts of release, so I feel far less aggressive, far less reactive when I'm driving down the road, whatever. I'm just more centered. This helps me a lot. All right, thanks for tuning in.